Welcome to the Bold, Bossy and Blessed Podcast. I'm your host, Nikisa Green, your conversationalist, where you can join me weekly as I discuss and share parenting, dating, and relationships, one conversation at a time. Now let's get into it. Yes, let's get into it, y'all. What's up? It is your favorite conversationalist of Bold, Bossy and Blessed Podcast, Nikisa Green. Welcome back to the show. We are on episode 16 of season 2, and I am so excited to be back for another week of a great conversation. Now, let's get into it. So while I was preparing for currently facing and dealing with, but before I do that, I want to make sure that you all are following me on all social media platforms. I am on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook at Nikisa Green. So follow me on those social media channels, as well as the podcast is on the show as at Bold Bossy Bless on YouTube and Instagram at Bold Bossy Bless. So make sure you are following us on social media. That is the quickest, fastest way for us to get communication out there, to give you announcements, to let you know what's going on with the show, to give you clips of upcoming shows, to just have discussion, have conversation. So I actually wanted to do this podcast a little bit different, but it looks like I am going to be doing it the same way I have been doing it since I started season 2. And that is with the video. I was listening to some podcasts last week, and I was like, I need to take it back to the old school way, where the person or people are listening to the podcast and they are just listening. They're not able to see a video. They're not able to watch you. They're not able to see how you look when you're talking. They're not able to get that visual. So then they are having to come up with their own image of or imagination of what they think you look like when you're talking. And so with the podcast, I want to make sure that my podcast is not only effective, but that it has a purpose. And so, of course, beginning of the season, I let you all know that one of the purposes of Bold, Bossy and Blessed Podcast is to empower, restore, and transform people through the conversations of my own testimony, as well as others' testimonies. And so I'm still debating if I'm going to upload the video on Spotify. I'm thinking that I just want to do audio and see how that goes, and then just upload the actual video on YouTube. So we will see how that works. I am excited. I am a little bit nervous about this upcoming week. We are in August. School starts on Wednesday, and I have to say that my youngest daughter is in her senior year of high school. And even though I have adult kids that are 27, and I've been through this path before, I must say that each path is different, meaning that although I was able to get through having triplets and seeing them through high school and graduate, prom, and go off to college and things like that, that was a very long time ago. Like, that was 8-9 years ago. That was like 8 or 9 years ago. And so much has changed. With my youngest daughter, I am actually faced with a couple of different things, a couple of different challenges. One of those challenges that I am faced with is the fact that I am going to be an empty nester. And of course, this would be my first time being an empty nester. So I really don't know what that looks like, except for the fact I know I will be traveling, but I already travel. So I'm like, okay. So that's one thing we're going to talk about, being an empty nester. The second thing is my daughter no longer, I guess, living with me or being with me, and the effect of that void of me always having her in the house, always, well, outside of, her going to a friend's house and family houses and things like that. But, you know, she's been with me since, she came out of me. So it's like, that's another thing, which I guess goes hand in hand with being an empty nester. The other thing is preparation for college, financial aid, senior, all the things the seniors do this year, it being like the last showdown for that period of before you turn legal age, and making sure that all of those things are taken care of. And then the last aspect of it is making sure that all the lessons that I have given her, and life lessons that life has given her, and the things that I have shared with her throughout her entire life. One of the things she always jokes with me about is, Mom, everything is not a lesson. And I'm like, everything is absolutely a lesson. Everything is always a lesson. Like, there's a lesson in everything. And because I have older kids, I'm always with that aspect of, okay, I remember when my triplets was younger, I was 17 when I had them. So I was a baby myself. I didn't necessarily know exactly what I was doing. I was playing it by ear. I was going with the flow. I was thinking of, how my parents was with me. I was thinking of what I saw on TV or what I read in the book. And, everybody has that pregnancy book, what to do, while you're pregnant. And so that was what I was doing when I was 17, raising my kids. So, like I said, I didn't know everything. And so, as I got older and began to learn things from not only just living life and experiences, but things that I started to read and learn about that I didn't know about when I was growing up. And then it became, okay, how can I teach them now that they're adults? Like, how can I get that lesson in with them, because they are adults. And at the end of the day, they are the ones that will make the final decision for their life, So with that being said, let's go ahead and deal with the first thing that I talked about, which I believe being an empty nester. And I have my podcast notes book, which you can't see, but one of my sister friends brought me this. I thought it was just the coolest thing. And I'm going to be using this to make sure I don't forget some of the things that I said I was going to talk about, because I listened to some of my podcasts and I'd be like, I told them I was going to go back and talk about this and that, and I completely forgot and didn't have my notes. And don't get me wrong, I'm a person that does research. I'm a person that have my notes. I'm a person that like to go like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. But I also found that when I am off the script, nothing written down, that some of the best conversations are had in those moments. And so this is one of those moments where I don't have anything written down. Everything that I thought of was definitely in the moment. And so bear with me as I share my heart on this podcast and hopefully help other parents that may be dealing with the same thing, a child getting ready to graduate from high school or a child getting ready to graduate from college. And so the first thing I talked about was being a empty nester. And yeah, number one, I cannot believe that it has been 18 years, almost 18 years since this little girl got here. Like 18 years, that's a long time, but it feels like yesterday. And and having kids before my youngest got here, that did teach me to try to hold on or savor the moments when they're like babies and young. And I did try to do that, but obviously time moves, time waits on no one, time moves, we live in time. And so while I did try to do those things, time still move, and here we are at senior year. And so being at senior year, thinking about when she graduates next year, she is going to college. The only probably final decision that has been made with that is that she does plan to stay in state. So she won't be like too far away because she'll be in state. But then again, the state that I live in is humongous. And so it's not the same thing of when I was living in Illinois and my daughter's was 5 hours away. But that's something that she decided that she wanted to stay in state. So I'm happy about that. I am happy that God has been with me through the years of being a parent, because I absolutely had no idea what I was doing, and if what I was doing was what I'm supposed to be doing, and if it was working. And I'm like, at the end of the day, God chose me to be the mother of my 4 beautiful kids. And so that's a blessing in itself. And so I've always been thankful. And even though, like, I'm not really big on holidays at all, except for birthdays, because, you got to celebrate being another year. But I'm not big on holidays. So, like, I'm not big on Mother's Day. However, I do make a post about it because it is a blessing to be a parent. There are women out here that desire to be a mother that for various reasons aren't able to be or haven't gotten to be a mother yet, and it's still coming. And so I just counted as a blessing that God chose me to birth the daughters that I did into this earth realm, and for a reason, for a purpose. And so I'm very grateful for that. I always have been humble when it comes to that. And being a mother is challenging, and it's also a blessing. So when I think about being an empty nester, I'm like, okay, well, what am I going to do? I did have kids at a very young age. And so it's like, you've always had your kids since you was a kid, so to speak. So it's like, okay, well, what do you do now? Like, all your life, that's all you've known since you was 17. So it's like, what do I do? And so my mind starts imagining like different scenarios of what I want to do. I know for sure that I do desire to get married again. I do desire to have a companion to share this life with and live out the latter days of my life, which are my best days to come. And so I'm excited about that. It's scary. It's fearful a little bit, but I'm excited about it. I'm excited to travel. I've already been traveling this year, and so I'm excited about what my future holds now that I have, so to speak, taken care of my responsibilities. Now, although my kids will be grown, I still have two grandkids, and so I still kind of have the 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 best of both worlds because I do have two grandkids, and so like my grandkids, they continue to keep me young. I always said the triplets keep me young. Now my grandkids definitely keep me young because they got this energy that I'm just like, Lord, Mama, my aunties, how did y'all do it? And even to this day, like my mom and my aunties, like they just have this strength about them that they are able to handle and take care of even my grandkids. Like when my grandkids visit back home, they're able to handle them very well. And I'm just like, I'm over here with my head like backwards because it's a lot. It's a lot. And they're able to do it. So I'm like, okay, girl, stop all that, whining and huffing and puffing. Get your butt in that gym and work out and get your second wind so that you can be able to keep up with these grandkids. So I still have my grandkids. They are my double blessings. I'm so grateful to be a grandmother. That's a whole nother podcast. So I try not to talk too much about that because that's definitely a different podcast. I could talk about them for a very long time. And if you're a grandmother or a grandfather, I know you already understand what I'm talking about. So being an empty nester, it might have some very great, exciting things to come. So I'm gonna smile for that, as I talk through this podcast. And y'all already know, like this podcast is like therapy. It's so therapeutic. And not that I don't have anybody to talk to because I have like corporate job, and so I have no problem with using my free sessions with therapy, which I think I'm going to and actually, so to speak, I think I'm going to go ahead and book me an appointment so I can make sure that as I navigate through this senior year that I am emotionally supported, and also my daughter gets emotionally supported as well because this is scary and new for her as well. And going to the second thing that I was talking about was, filling out financial aid papers, applying to colleges, taking these tests or retaking tests. I know she took some tests her junior year. So just all of those things. And it's like so much has changed with financial aid and everything since my girls was in college. So it's like now I got to reinform myself with the changes and learn everything about it. And I think that helps as well with my anxiety about this year is educating myself. And I think I'm going to start doing that as well before school starts so that I can be educated. Because the more I know and learn and understand, it won't seem as unfamiliar. And then that fear will start to go away. That false evidence appearing real, that fear. And so, and probably have some more conversations with her and try to see like where her head is as far as like what colleges she's thinking about, and if she still wants to move forward with the major that she wants to do. And I will say that I'm ecstatic about her future. I'm happy to be at senior year on time, and I'm happy that she will graduate at the age of 17 the same way I graduated at the age of 17. So it's like, whew. But her life won't be the same as my life because I was, y'all already know. I got into some stuff, y'all. So it's like, I'm watching, and she's had like her high school year, she's been able to like explore with, I talked about this on on a different podcast when I had my producer, who's also a father, on the show as a guest. And I talked about it then, but it's like, I would rather have my daughter go through things while she's in high school and get the consequences from them, from me, as well as God. And she got some consequences from God. She can talk to you about those when she come on the show, because I do still want her to come on the show. And I'm also going to have my triplets on the show, but their schedule is just so hard, y'all. So we will see if I can get the triplets on the show anytime soon. Okay, so the last thing that I believe I said I was going to talk about as it relates to my daughter being a senior in high school is making sure that all the advice, tips, wisdom has been given to her in time before she graduates so that she can have that with her. And I was speaking earlier about how she always say, Mom, everything's not a lesson. And I always tell her, I said, okay, everything may not seem like it's a lesson to you. I said, but it really is. And I said, and at the end of the day, when I'm not there with you, you will remember my words. Like it's gonna, God is gonna bring it to your remembrance. God is gonna nudge you. God is gonna remind you of something that I've said that's gonna be like, okay, I remember my mama told me about this, or I remember my mama said this and that, So I'm going to continue to make everything a lesson for her. And then I'm known for it. Like I'm known for it. I'm known for always making stuff out of a lesson. So I have to live up to my name. I have to live up to my name. So I want you all, if you are a parent, and it doesn't matter if you're a mother or if you're a father or if you're parents, to reach out to the show and let me know your experience. If you are a parent of a senior in high school, if you are a parent of a child that's going to be a senior in college, that's getting ready to graduate, reach out. Let's share tips. Let's share advice. Let's share resources. Let's just share with each other so that we are not going through this alone or solo. Let's use this as an opportunity to connect as a community and with the community, and me connect with the community as well on having kids going to high school and college and things like that. So let me know how you feel about this. Let me know your thoughts about it as well. Before I get off, I do want to discuss the last episode, which was about mental health plus awareness, self-discovery, and that journey. And I wanted to say that I'm so glad that I had Chris Harris to come on the show and talk about, especially from a male perspective, because we don't a lot of times see or hear men talking about their mental health, or even talking at all sometimes, and men need an outlet as well. Like, men go through so much in life. And so want you all to go back to that episode and watch that episode. It is on YouTube at Bossy Blessed, and it's on all the platforms for podcasts, including Pandora, including iHeartRadio, including Audibles. Like, Bossy Blessed Podcast is on all the podcast channels. If you cannot find it on a favorite channel that you listen to, let me know and I will send you the link for it. So I want to thank you all for joining me for another episode of Bold, Bossy, and Blessed Podcast. As I continue to go through this journey in life, I will also be sharing with you resources, and I will also continue to have guests on the show that will also share their testimony, and hopefully something that they say will inspire you, will motivate you, will encourage you, will allow you to have the courage to shine your light in this world and to share your gifts with the world. And so remember to be bold, be bossy, and stay blessed. Thank you for listening to another episode of Bold, Bossy, and Blessed Podcast. Make sure you're following me on all social media platforms at Nikisa Green, and make sure you subscribe to this podcast as well. Until next time, be bold, make bossy moves, and stay blessed.